Hey, it's Matt, Unbearable 73. It's in my review of Season 2, Episode 5 of Reacher. Now, I have to caveat this first. I'll probably get to that. Okay? It's a good episode. Probably, of the five, it's tied for the best, or my favorite, I should say. Or, in other words, along with the third episode, are my two favorite episodes. And I'm not sure which one I like better, right? But I'm not going to go crazy over that. I'm like, oh my god, this one's 0.2% better than that one. Or all five episodes have been at the very least like 8 out of 10 type of stuff, you know. And so we got that part of it, right? Um, and now the next thing I will say to get before I do my little swipey review of the episode, I only read the first 3 or 4 Reacher books. I have to go looking through my old Kindle books that I purchased, which I can't stand ebooks anymore. So, and I know there's like 27 Reacher books at some point. So when I say the first thing I'm going to say here, which is the scene freeze, I chose I'm freeze framed on the scene in the bottom and chose the scene at the top of my thumbnail for a particular reason. Okay, so one of the things about Reacher as a character study, at least through the 4 books and which the show demonstrates, is that, I mean, he's not a psychopath. He does connect to humanity, so he cares about people's emotions. He has regular emotions and all that sort of stuff. But, and I could empathize a little with this, he has difficulty either making or desiring personal connections with people beyond camaraderie. In other words, yeah, obviously he likes sex and all that, but and he clearly has people he considers friends, but he doesn't he doesn't value maintaining those relationships over his wandering exploration. Like, he doesn't question that he has no desire to have kids at this point or any. I don't know if that ever changes in the future of the novel series or whatever, you know. And obviously, like Roscoe in the first season when he had a relationship with her, you know, and in this episode, he has the member of his former team who he's got a relationship, and she basically the way she ran the relationship is she knows Reacher's not like going to stay with her. So she just said, let's live in the moment. So she's just like, let's just deal with what we got to deal with, and you know, live with it and enjoy it for what it is. You know, she understands Reacher is going to move on, right? So the contrast in these two scenes is Reacher's looking at the child's doll. And on the face of it, you say, oh, maybe he's amused and playing a little joke or whatever. But I think the actor, Alan Richardson, knows this about the character. There's an inability to understand the need to connect closely and remain with those you connect with. And I think that's why he's displaying with his acting and looking at the doll and the way he interacts with the children and all that. And they did a good job leading up to that scene with the banter about the guy who was a sort of womanizer type who became a family man after the military and all. So I think that this is probably, in some ways, as far as showing Reacher's character, the best contrast you can get. Reacher understands relating to people with violence, and I don't mean like using violence to form a relationship. I think he understands that primordial like chimp, gorilla, primate. When you're the alpha, you can use that violence to intimidate and form a relationship where they will give you what you want. Okay, and he doesn't understand the sort of other relationship types where you have with the family or close friends where you would stay with them because you feel comfort from being around them. Right. So that's a pretty good contrast there. Now, as far as the continuation of the plot, the 2 plot points have begun to come together now. The one plot point was what all those numbers meant and what the mystery assassin was doing. And then there was the whole investigation into the corporation. So we found Little Wing. We found, their missiles. We're rapidly getting to the crisis capper, so to speak, the pinnacle, the climax and all that. So this episode got us quite a bit of ways there. Let's talk through it, and then we'll see what we can get from that. I did have a suggestion / complaint about from more like stuff on the screen and less of me talking, and I'm like, I can't do much more of that because I will get. There sometimes like these still images I have up there. I got a copyright notice about just one still image once for one of these review videos, which I complained about, and I was like, they struck it off or whatever. But point is, I can't do too much talking over the video. If I played that video, I'd get copyright struck constantly. I'm not a big user who could afford a lawyer to deal with that. Anyway, so this is the end of that scene. We're trying to figure out the whole kids thing and what it all means and all, and and here's where this is some good character development for both of these characters. This, by the way, now I work in a corporation, and one of the things they tell people, and I'm not stupid, I would have known this without that, is if you have a desk or workspace, you are responsible for securing it. Meaning, even in my corporation, there are other employees, just because they work there, are not entitled to know what you are doing. You have your job that comes down to you through your chain of command, your tasks. And yeah, I mean, I work in IT, for example. Like how a computer program works is not protected information. So if I have a training diagram of how CPN works or Windows Server 2016 works or whatever, or any of that sort of stuff, that's sort of public info. Not that it's public, but that's not restricted per se. As long as I don't have my password, anyone's passwords on it, or any particular security program, like indicate which security protocols are active versus not, and like that will be protected, so to speak. But in PHI in a hospital setting, in its corporate setting, the information we see now, which is some sort of like calendar thingy on the screen, and what she's pulling over, you as an employee have an obligation to keep that information. You can't just walk away. Like literally, when you work in a corporation, this type of stuff, there's a camera there reviewing her. A supervisor would periodically check that, and she would probably get fired over this. Okay. Now on the other side, private investigators, reporters. In fact, when I worked for the hospital system, our main problem is not making sure that we don't reveal information to reporters and government authorities, like cops without a warrant, basically. Those are the main concerns of data release. So, because even if you answer the cop's question and you give PHI, you're violating HIPAA, right? So, unless they have a warrant, even if they have a warrant, the argument could be they're violating HIPAA. That's how crazy that law is. But anyway, so that's a pretty intriguing thing. This is pretty much a real case of how this would go down, where the PIs would mislead the desk person. And yes, you can. I've seen people. I've been around when people would walk in and BS their way past the main desk, even past security, with just walking the walk and talking the talk, and with some sort of a thing resembling RID hanging off their thing, and people don't look closely at it, and they say, "Oh, I'm visiting from the other campus. I need to find room 7B with, which they look up on a public map of the building." And like I said, so this is sort of very realistic example of how you can access social hack, as they call it, information, right? I like this action sequence. It shows intelligence. The two females use their advanced. This is another pet peeve of mine. These are elite trained people, these women, right? Now, how do I put this in a way that sounds? If someone is a highly trained military person, soldier, airman, whatever, or they're a highly trained like combat athlete, even given the disparities of women being smaller than men and whatever, the training makes up a lot as long as you avoid direct physical confrontation. Okay, so these women know that if these guys are very good at hand-to-hand combat, they should get nowhere near them. They should outwit them with their mind and use their weapons to take them out. And that's happened consistently in Reacher, where the females don't do well in direct physical confrontation, but use their skill set and their environment and their intelligence to deal with their male opponents. Okay, so this show is well done in that regard. Um, and I like this combat scene. I like how it breaks down. They show the critical moments. Um, I I don't think it was actually necessary to kill the other guy. I thought, not that I'm saying, I mean, look, it's a show. You have to kill people in this type of show to make it effective, but it would have been interesting if they followed, if the assassin had his team follow up and find a way not to kill that guy, like said, like he's trying to honor the request of the other conspirator, like if they had gassed him or something, and then said just stay here in the woods and for an hour and you'll live or whatever. Um, I mean, yeah, we knew he was gonna get killed. This is the nature. He type of someone has to be killed in his nature of the character. But it would have been interesting if somehow they'd done that, and yet these guys get killed, and and then like there was no mercy for these guys, right? But then they had restrained themselves to a degree, and interesting moral complex. But Reacher, the bad guys are the bad guys. There's no moral ambiguity, so I understand why they didn't do it. So that Reacher using his military connection plus his brother talks to Homeland Security guys about the situation. That's a pretty cool scene. Again, them using the car to block the bullets, and then when they get behind, sneaking out. I mean, makes good sense. This reminds me of the scene in The Sopranos. Um, when Tony was at Johnny the what is his name, Johnny Sack's house, and the Fed showed up, and Tony ran off into the woods in the snow. This reminds me of that scene for some reason. This was a nice throwback scene, flashback, to show the team in operation, them working on that case. Obviously, that case continues to have ramifications in some capacity for the future, how they behave in the future. I wonder if this is the end of the flashbacks, or there'll be more. I thought this was kind of stupid. Like, why would the drug dealers let the delivery guy in? That made no sense at all. Someone should have said, "Wait, why would they do this? Unless they plan on killing the guy, which would be stupid to kill a delivery guy and get the police." I mean, if there's this one scene with this one dude, like him showing up, will be the reason this would not be a more than a 9 out of 10, right here. I like this scene too. Reacher's like, nah, it's gonna be my way, bro. Like the guy, they try to intimidate him, and like they realize they're not gonna intimidate him at all. Terminator. I get the senator wanting to cover it up. That makes some sense. I still think that eight is dirtier in some way than we know. This was a good scene. Um, it started out a little like it started out. They made you think he was a bad guy that was going to interrogate the kid in some way, but then when he pulled out that saint, and this is a good job by the actor who comes across as a real working man's type, like a simple guy, pulls out his saint and explains that to the kid, and you knew he was being real there. He wasn't being a cop trying to get info from a kid. He was being like an older guy trying to console a son, because maybe he, as we find out later, he went through it. It's a really powerful scene because they executed it right. They led you along the path of saying, is he trying to just sneak in and interrogate the kid? But he pulls out that saint card. Now, if you're not Italian American, you might not quite get the symbol, I mean, I saw other cultures, other variations of who are Catholic have it, but does that prayers to your saint and all that, that was a thing when we grew up. So that impact, it was impactful for me culturally. And it's nice how Reacher finally like mentally settles in and gains some respect for him over it. All over the next part when he protects the kid from the gunfire. Now this is a very Reacher style thing where bad guys act on people in public all the time. So if you say contrived or whatever, it's part of the bad guys' plan in Reacher stuff that they will in public do the craziest stuff. I was surprised they didn't have Reacher pick up one of the headstones and use it like a shield and walk forward. I mean, I know he might not even be able to do that, but I was almost surprised they didn't go with that and just say, "Well, Reacher's super super strong" or whatever. It was funny. I like the car chase. I like the back and forth between Reacher and the detective. And then we'll back up to the scene here where Reacher's like, Reacher's going to terminate these people if they don't do what he wants, and if you're ancillary, you know. And then we'll go forward. Now this next scene was 100% predictable to the audience. Okay, these bad guys have demonstrated a constant cleaning up after themselves, which Reacher bad guys do in the books, and obviously you saw in the first season show, even in the Tom Cruise movies, the bad guys always clean up after themselves. So yeah, that was Reacher season 2, episode 5. Ooh, excuse me. Let's see. Well, anything else to say? Uh, no, I think that's it. It's getting us to the point. It's getting us to the climax of the penultimate episodes coming up. And I think 2 more. I think there's 8 episodes. So, whether 8 or 10, who cares? It's in another couple weeks in January it'll be over, and then we'll have to wait at least a year for the next episode in the season of Reacher. But it's a good episode. It's getting us where we got to go. It's putting the storylines together. Right. So my name is Matt. This has been my thoughts and review of it. The episode is like maybe an 8 to 8.5 out of 10. Okay. This has been my review of season 1, episode 5 of Reacher. Have a happy New Year. This should be up on New Year's Day, and I am out of here. Comment down below if you have any questions, and give me a like if you can. Thank you.